This reply's got over 200 likes, so that means over 200 people agree with it. Definitely not sold on this hire. And yeah, Auburn fans, they're not fond of this. We haven't even kicked off the 11 a.m. games, and there's already chaos going on in the college football community. Good morning to each and all of you. As most of you know, we don't post on Saturdays unless something big's going on, and yeah, I think it's safe to say this is big. Well, actually, let me go back on that statement. I said good morning. It's morning when I'm filming this. Whenever you're going to see it, I'll try to get it up as soon as possible, which will be around 12:30 or 1 Central. I think this is easily going to be one of the best Saturdays in all the college football throughout this season. Not just because it's rival week. There's a lot of stuff to pay attention to. And like I tweeted out this morning, I can't believe it's the last regular season week of college football. It felt like it was week 2 only a couple days ago. Let me know in the comment section. It can't just be me. I felt like this college football season, it flew by faster than the other ones. I don't know what it was. But anyways, that's besides the point. We got to get on to the main topic, the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video. We got to talk about Nebraska and Auburn. You're getting my live, raw, uncut, whatever you want to call it, reaction to this. And I can't even say I'm shocked, surprised, or whatnot, because I don't even know how I feel. This is breaking news. We're going to talk all about it. Auburn, they found their new head coach. At least that's what it looks like, according to ESPN. And Nebraska has found their new head coach. You would think these Nebraska and Auburn fans, they'd be extremely excited about this, but some of the fans aren't. Like I said, we're going to talk all about it. We don't got time to waste. I got to get back to watching these games. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get on to it. Like I said, we're jumping straight into it. I don't got time to waste. I got to get back to these games. It's been officially announced that Nebraska has hired Matt Rhule. How do I feel about this? Well, it's rather simple. Like I told you guys whenever you fired Scott Frost, and I told you last year, you can't do worse. Scott Frost is literally a loser, and that Nebraska program at this current moment is losers as well. It didn't matter who you were going to hire, you couldn't do worse. So you can't point to one guy and be like, oh yeah, that's a bad fit or hire, because there's no such thing. Like, come on now, you got to be realistic here. It's not like Matt Rhule's replacing Nick Saban or Kirby Smart or Dabo Swinney. Matt Rhule is arguably replacing one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. Am I a fan of Matt Rhule? Not necessarily. I wouldn't say all of that, but I'm definitely not against the guy. I'm even kill on him. He doesn't overly excite me, but for example, whenever Auburn hired Brian Harsin, I told everyone from the jump I didn't like him. So it's not a situation where I'm pointing at Matt Rhule and going, oh yeah, I don't like the guy, because I do like some things about him. But I don't look at Matt Rhule as like a Deion Sanders or Lane Kiffin. Those two guys really excite me. I think he's going to do a good job. And do y'all remember a couple weeks ago, I was seeing this everywhere, people sending it to me, where apparently Nebraska fans and people up there were starting rumors that they was going to get Deion Sanders. I never made a video about it because there's no point. I think that was the stupidest rumor and thing I've ever seen. I'll just leave it at this. Deion Sanders wouldn't even consider going to Nebraska, and I believe that. That's a different conversation for a different day, but take a look at this stat. I found it rather interesting. In Matt Rhule's first year at Temple, they went 2-10. In his last 2 years, 2015 and 16, he had 10 wins in both of those seasons. Not too bad, but check this out as well. In 2017, he went 1-11 at Baylor, and his last year in 2019, he had 11 wins. If I'm a Nebraska fan, I am screenshotting that, I'm bookmarking it on Twitter, and I'm circling it and remembering it because it does matter. It's a huge deal. Why is it a huge deal? Because Nebraska, what are you currently? 4-8, I think that's what they finished. Nebraska sucks, and as you can see right here from the screenshot, what is Matt Rhule good at? Turning around these sucky programs into good ones and respectable ones. If I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm jumping for joy. This was one of the best hires you could get. Matt Rhule has proven it time after time after time at Temple and Baylor recently, he can turn around programs. That's what Nebraska needs. Although you may have wanted a big time name like a Lane Kiffin or a Deion Sanders, that's a want. This is a need. This is a necessity. Now, can Matt Rhule eventually get Nebraska into those national title and playoff contender conversations? I am not even going to talk about that. Nebraska fans, you shouldn't even think about that. First things first, you got to worry about winning games. You got to worry about going 8-4. The reason I bring that up is because I know how these Nebraska fans are. I'm going to give them credit. They're some of the most passionate and arguably one of the best fan bases in the entire country. You tell me another fan base that's going to sell out 110 straight games when their football team sucks, and let me know. I tell you this much, when Alabama sucked from that span from like 2000 to 2006, They wasn't selling out every single game. Nebraska fans are awesome, but at the same time, they have unrealistic expectations. This is the definition of a rebuild. For example, when Nick Saban said Alabama was rebuilding last year, that is a rebuild for Alabama, but you got to understand the level they're on. There's levels to this. Just like in life, there's levels to everything. An Alabama rebuild is like a shingle getting knocked off of the house. This Nebraska rebuild is the house completely got torn down. The only thing that is left is the foundation. And now that I think about it, saying the foundation's left, that might be overdoing it. You got to knock the house down and start from scratch. The only thing that can be visible is the plumbing. However, with all that great stuff I just said, and as excited as I am for this hire, and make no mistakes about it, I'm not a Nebraska fan. These Nebraska fans, a lot of them, they're not happy about it. It blows my mind. Let me read you off some of these comments. This reply's got over 200 likes, so that means over 200 people agree with it. Definitely not sold on this hire. That's all they said, and we'll leave it at that. Check out this one. Mickey Joseph has done a great job in such a short time. He deserved a chance to turn the program around and prove himself. Like all other coaches have been given, I support the decision, but I absolutely do not agree with it. Somebody replied to it and said he won 2 games. Yeah, about that. I think Mickey Joseph, he did an okay job, but okay is as good as I'm going to give him. He didn't do a good job by any stretch of the imagination, so don't even start that BS. You may like Mickey Joseph, but that guy's not cut out to lead a Nebraska type of program. I'm not going to read all the replies because I think you get the point. Nebraska fans aren't sold on it. Check out this one, and it's the last one I'm going to read. Hoping this goes good for the years to come, but don't like this hire because he was 2-14 against ranked teams in his college days. That is a fair point, and I'll give you that, but you have to understand he was coaching at Temple and Baylor. And like I said before, whenever he took over that Baylor program, I believe they was 1-11 the season before. Nebraska fans, the least of your concerns is beating ranked teams. You need to start beating the Northwesterns first. You're probably thinking I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not. You need to start winning the games you're supposed to win. Then you can talk about ranked matchups. All in all, though, I think it's a great hire. Not too sure why Nebraska fans are disappointed with it, considering you're one of the worst programs in the country. And I mean that disrespectfully. You are currently one of the worst programs in the country. This Nebraska program, and let me emphasize this, not just the team, but the program itself is awful. From the locker room to the players to the coaching staff, everything about it, y'all have a loser's mentality. And until you get a coach in there that can flip that mentality, you will continue to be a laughingstock. I'm telling you the truth, and I told you guys this last year. I remember people, these were real people. They were messaging me on Twitter, Instagram, on YouTube, trying to tell me that Nebraska was the best 3-9 team in the country, and they weren't even trying to be funny about it. They were telling me that no other 3-9 team is as good as them. Do y'all understand how crazy that sounds? Yes, of course, you are the best 3-9 team in the country because there's only like 5 other teams in that conversation. Most teams say, hey, we're the best 1-loss team in the country. We're the best 2-loss team. Then you got Nebraska fans saying they're the best 9-loss team in the country. Get real. And I tried telling them last year, hey, Scott Frost coming back, you're going to continue to suck, and we saw what happened. I've been off on a lot of my predictions this year, but I nailed the Nebraska one perfectly. I like it, and I think you should like it too. Moving on to our next team that is about to hire their new head coach as well, we got Auburn. We made a video last night where Lane Kiffin, he made it clear, he said it in the interviews, or not with the interviews, but with the reporters, that he's coming back to Ole Miss. If he's going to stay true to his word or not, I don't know. I can only tell you what he says. It's also came out this morning with Lane Kiffin making it clear to Ole Miss and that entire staff and whatnot that he's coming back. Auburn is going to hire Hugh Freeze. They haven't officially made this announcement, but according to my sources, and these are real sources, not John Sokoloff, they're going to hire him after the Iron Bowl. They wouldn't make this announcement on a Saturday morning because then it just messes up with the emotions, and they owe Cadillac Williams a respect. But with all the rumors going on, and Pete Thamel even talked about it on College Game Day this morning, they've already discussed the numbers and the contract and all the other stuff. I don't have to explain who this guy is. Most SEC fans know, and you're familiar with Hugh Freeze. Former head coach at Ole Miss, had some shady stuff going on. He's now at Liberty. And yeah, Auburn fans, they're not fond of this. I see where they're coming from, but here's what it comes down to. Whether you want to like this or not, it is the cold, hard truth. All that matters at the end of the day is if you win or lose games. That's what it comes down to. All that mess that was going on with Scott Frost up in Nebraska, if he would have had 11 wins this year, it wouldn't even been brought up. It's the same thing with Urban Meyer. You can be an a-hole, a terrible person, but as long as you win games, you're going to have a job. And I can't even say, hey, it's messed up and it shouldn't be that way, because that's their job. They get paid to win games. As long as you do that, you can do whatever you want. It's the same thing with your job. As long as you go to work, they don't care what you do outside of work. As long as you show up and you do your job, you can be an alcoholic outside of it. They don't care. That's the mentality these teams have, and they're supposed to have, because that's what matters. To my Auburn fans, whether you like Hugh Freeze or not, you got to accept it. He's a proven winner. Where it starts to get controversial, though, for me, is it's clear and evident that Hugh Freeze, he wasn't option number one. He's almost like the backup plan. You know how in high school, and we've all been there, where you're talking to like 3, 4, 5 girls at one time, and yeah, although you like all of them, there's this one you really like, and then she winds up curving you. Then you go on to, option number 2, 3, and 4. That's what it seems like is currently happening at Auburn, and check out this tweet. Every decent person I know wants Hugh Freeze nowhere, and I repeat, nowhere near Auburn. So logically, we will hire him, and he will coach at Auburn for the next 18 years. Another one. Y'all are insane if you actually think you can justify Hugh Freeze. His only good mark on his resume was beating Saban, and we fired Gus for doing that more than Freeze. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. That might be my favorite one. Because that person's right, and I said this time after time, when firing Gus Malzahn, it didn't make sense to me. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. You fired Gus Malzahn after going 9-3, 10-2, 8-4 every single year, and at Auburn, that's about as good as it gets. I don't know why, but for some reason, Auburn has this expectation where they believe they should actually be as good as Georgia and Bama every single year, when that's just never going to be a reality. The best you can do at Auburn is what Gus Malzahn did. 8-4, 9-3, beat Nick Saban every now and then. And if you want to get analytical, Gus Malzahn had the most success out of any head coach in the country when it comes down to beating Nick Saban. So that's why, at least to me, I thought it was crazy firing him. I'm not saying that Gus Malzahn was this legendary coach, but here is my thing. Who were you going to hire to replace him? I mean, now that I think about it, these Auburn fans are saying it. Hugh Freeze is kind of like a glorified Gus Malzahn. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. The only reason I ever gave him respect and credit is because he did beat Nick Saban in back-to-back seasons. And we all know, if you beat Alabama, that's a big-time thing. If you beat Alabama in one season, you're guaranteed to keep your job for at minimum 2 to 3 years. I'm trying to think here. Here's how I feel about it. I'm not the biggest fan of Hugh Freeze, but once again, I got to go back to this question. Who else literally are you going to hire? I don't see any other candidates that want the job or are good enough for the job. If you don't hire Hugh Freeze, then what's the other option? It seems like at this point, he is the only option. He's the only candidate. Why did I say it like that? It's candidate. But, and I have a big but, you better believe it. I've said this for the past 3 to 4 weeks, and I guess I'm the only one that believes this. I have said, why not? Why not give Cadillac Williams a shot? Because number one, you don't got to pay him a lot. Give him $3-4 million a year. Give him 1 to 2 years. If it don't work out, then you move on. Everybody in that Auburn fan base would be happy, because if it didn't work out, I don't think anybody's going to be mad. And hey, who knows? Best case scenario, it works out and Cadillac Williams is the next great head coach. I'm not saying that would happen, but you never know. I just felt like sticking with Cadillac Williams, give him a year or two, it would save you money and it'd be better for the program. But at the end of the day, I knew that wasn't a possibility, because we're talking about Auburn. This isn't Fresno State. This isn't Chattanooga State Water Aquarium Community College. This is one of the best jobs in the country. Everybody at Auburn is not going to be okay with just having Cadillac Williams. They want and they need, at least in their opinion, a big-time brand and a big-time name. So Hugh Freeze, it does make sense. I mean, that is Auburn football. When I think of Auburn football, I think of all these gimmicks, these lucky plays, and that's the definition of Hugh Freeze. I mean, as much as I'm not a fan of it, it seems like it could be a good fit. I expect this announcement to come out either late tonight or early Sunday morning. This video's already been way too long. Let me know your thoughts down below. But